In this tutorial, we're going to look at how to use the match grain and see how that works inside of After Effects. So here I am inside of this composition. Because there's no grain baked into these two images, I decided to use this background right here that we used in the previous one to look at the different channels and to see how that grain structure works. So basically it's just our character not in his steampunk world. He's now inside the forest here next to this waterfall. But because this is a video, it actually has grain and this one doesn't. So we want to match that grain. So to match grain, we're going to select the element that we want to have our grain on. So we could choose the foreground element. We could also choose and create an adjustment layer, and then we'll essentially double the grain from the background here because we're going to add grain on top of it. So it's kind of you can do two workflows to see which one works best for you. But what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put it on this image itself. So now with that image of him selected, I'm going to go to my effect, him selected. We'll go to effect, come down to key noise and grain, and I'm going to go match grain. And this is pretty simple. Again, here's that. This is the stock image. That grain is a little aggressive to me because we don't have an actual source that we've kind of identified. So what we need to do is under the noise source layer is instead of none, we're going to come in here and we're going to choose our background. So by choosing that, we're going to see that that's the grain that it has found. It is really kind of aggressive. So we're going to make some adjustments here to the compensate for existing noise and the tweaking. So we have here intensity, just like we saw before. We can adjust things by the channels themselves. So if we want to go into the channels, we can. We can adjust the color if we want to, make it monochromatic. Oftentimes it's going to be some kind of color is going to be added into there, and a lot of other tools in here that are a little bit more advanced from what we're going to look at. So right now the intensity is just really too strong, so I'm going to bring that down and maybe bring that intensity up to maybe about 1. I want to come in here and I want to look at the grain that's happening in the background and the grain that's happening there. So I'm going to increase the size, still very intense. I'm going to call this 0.05. so that I can see how this grain is working. That's still a little too intense, 0.02. And so now I'm starting to get that same intensity of this grain that I'm seeing over here. I can also go into the channels specifically and look at how this grain is working with this grain. Again, I feel like this grain is just a little bit larger in the red. So I'm going to bring up the channel size inside of here. Again, we're going to go to the green channel. We're going to play it. We're going to go into the blue channel and we're going to play it. And so it's not perfect that it is. Oop, that's way too much. Let's bring this maybe to 0.6. Oh no, not 0.6. 1.6. Still might be a lot. But if we come back here, go into our RGB, and now we can look at it, and we can see in here that our grain matching is just a little bit more in line with the grain that we see inside of the actual image. So the key is subtlety, and to look at things with a critical eye, look at those different channels, and you don't want to necessarily just believe that the auto is the auto. It gets you close. It gets you to a starting point. Then you go in and you make your tweaks and you make your changes so that it looks like exactly on top of there. So that's basically all the effects that we went over for this compositing class in, this week. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to take us through this exact project from start to finish in the next tutorial. So I will see you in that one. Thanks.